One of the most interesting things to me about youth sports and in youth development is that everybody matures and develops at different rates. So for example, when I was working as a middle school PE teacher, it was really interesting to me because I'd have kids in the same class, in the same 8th grade class. Some of them had not hit maturity at all yet. They were very small, not a lot of musculature, and they'd be competing against people in sports that were fully developed, that looked like grown men. They were already getting facial hair and they could be playing like professional football, it looked like. It was absolutely mind-blowing to me that these kids were the same age competing in the same class. And it really makes you wonder, how is the smaller kid, how is that late bloomer gonna make it if they want to try to make it as a professional athlete? Because when they're younger, they're gonna have a much less chance of being selected to the best teams, to the best training, because they're going to be going after the kids that are the best players. And if you're bigger, faster, and stronger than all of your peers, you have a much better chance of being selected. They talk about this in the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell in the first chapter, and it deals with hockey players, and it shows that if you're born in the first birth quarter, you have a much higher chance of being selected to the professional ranks someday versus if you're born in quarter 3 or 4. And this is extremely true in football as well. Across almost every single professional league and every single professional player that's out there, you have a much higher percentage chance of being successful if you're born in the earlier parts of that cutoff. Some places the cutoff is in January, so if you're born in January, you're going to be the oldest player all of the time. Some countries you have the cutoff in August, but we separate it out by birth quarter. So if you're born in that first birth quarter, you have the highest chance of becoming a professional player, and the difference is staggering. So it really makes you wonder, how many good players are out there that are getting passed up in the system that would have had a chance at being amazing professional players or had a lot of natural talent, but they just get missed because they are late bloomers? And are there a lot of those things out there that we are missing as coaches? And that's where our app comes in. One of the best features, with a switch of a button, we can control for these differences in our app and take that physical maturity into account so that we can see players for their natural abilities and really try to take out that variable of whether or not they are an early or late bloomer. So how does this apply to the real world, the real life? Today we're going to talk to Robin, who is a very late bloomer, and we're going to hear a little bit about his experience of what it was like to grow up in the Swedish youth professional ranks as a very late bloomer. So speaking of differences in physical maturity, we've got a typical example of a late bloomer with us here today, Robin, who is now playing at IFK Värnamo in the Swedish First Division. But growing up, you played for a bunch of Swedish youth professional teams, like
Brommapojkarna, AIK, and Djursholm.
Definitely. And then when he was very young, he's a 99, but you were playing with 98s and 97s, right?
Yeah.
So that's my first question for you is, do you think it helped you in your development when you were a lot younger, playing with kids that were a couple years older?
Yeah, really. I think I developed quicker, but also I developed things that maybe others don't. And like I need to think faster and act faster and be one step ahead all the time.
As you started to grow up, some of your peers started to go through puberty earlier than you. You were a stereotypical late bloomer. So I was wondering, what were some of the challenges of that? Because then you came back to your own age group, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then everybody else was going through maturity, and you were a late bloomer. What were some of the challenges of that?
It was hard. The challenge was to survive on the field. Everyone was quick, faster, stronger, and bigger, and you need to think faster and do these things that I said before.
Definitely.
To survive.
We've seen how huge of an effect this can have in the physical differences of people that are actually the same age. And that takes me to my next question. When coaches are choosing positions for their players, as a late bloomer, what position were you playing and where did the coaches?
Yeah, I started in the midfield playing, and then when it got too big difference between me and the other players, I went back down to right back. The coach told me you can start on the right back or sit on the bench and come in on the midfield.
Yeah.
So I started on the right back.
Obviously you're going to take
Yeah.
on the field over the bench any day. Do you feel like right back was a good position for you?
No, it's not in my nature to play in the back. I need to be up front, offensive, and do the things that I'm good at.
So speaking of that, maybe there's a lot of players out there growing up that coaches are playing in positions that maybe aren't the best for them. And that leads me into my next question. Do you think there are a lot of players out there in the system that maybe get unnoticed or coaches pass on them or are playing them in the wrong positions and maybe they didn't get the best chance to become the best players they could be?
Yeah, really. I think, as you said, they play the big players up front and just score the goals, then when everyone gets at the same level, things change, and you have played on the wrong position your whole life maybe.
Totally. So what advice would you have for kids out there that are late bloomers and their peers are maturing much faster and they're behind? Having gone through that yourself, what advice can you give to somebody that would find themselves in that situation?
Just keep fighting, be patient, believe in yourself all the time, because your time will come if you keep fighting and are strong mentally. Yeah, just have fun, and if you love football, just keep fighting.
If you love football, keep fighting. Things have a way of working themselves out. So these are questions that I think we as coaches should ask ourselves. What's going to be best for the individual players? What's going to be best for player development? Keeping in mind that everybody matures and develops at different rates. These are very, very interesting things to think about, and I just want to plant that seed so that you're also considering these types of things as a coach when you're working with your players and when you're working with your teams to maximize player development. If you're interested in our app, you can find out more about what we do. We've got links in the description, but I think this is one of the many amazing features that we have with the 360 Player app. With that being said, we've got a lot more videos coming out here on our YouTube channel that I'm very excited about. Team training, individual training, more videos like this talking about youth development, player development in football. So if you're into that sort of thing, please join our community, press the subscribe button. We'd love to have you be a part of this. We just crossed over 100 subscribers not too long ago. Very exciting. It's a strong start. We're gonna keep it going here. So stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next video.